Hi there. I decided to make this wee video featuring this particular model aircraft, not because I thought there was a need for it, because there's literally dozens of videos on YouTube featuring this model and some very useful reviews and the usual out of the box thing, you know. The reason I'm making this video is, having bought the model for a reason I'll explain in a wee bit, I made a few discoveries which up to now nobody has mentioned. Right, so having said that, I'll rewind it a wee bit. The reason I've got this model is not because I particularly wanted it, because I had no idea it even existed. The reason is, now if you look in the background, you'll see there's some plans there which has got nothing to do with this aircraft. The plans that you're seeing there in the background are for a balsa and tissue model that my brother gave me for my birthday, and it's the Spitfire night fighter. I hope you can see that there. By the Vintage Model Company. It's approximately 1/24 scale, and it's a free flight rubber band model. So basically it's got a rubber band in there, you wind up the propeller and you let it go and off it goes, and if you've trimmed it right it'll go around in circles and eventually land. But I've always got this sort of nightmare about sending one of these things off and watch it disappear into the distance, and at my age I can't go running after these things, you know, across the countryside leaping over fences to retrieve my model. So I thought it would be a good idea to convert it to radio control. Now I swithered and dithered about it because it is a very small model. I think if I show you, I've partially completed the wings. They're clamped together there, but you'll see the wings there, if I move them across, are not all that much smaller than this model here. And I thought, you know, am I going to get a radio control kit into a small model like that? Well, after I googled it and had a look, the answer is definitely yes. With miniaturization these days, the kit that they're producing for radio control is small, and there would be no problem getting into a model that size. So what I did was I went on to the manufacturer's website, that's the Vintage Model Company, and had a look to see what they had. And yes, indeed, they had a conversion kit for that particular model to convert it to radio control. But then, shock and horror, being a good Scotsman, I really balked at the price. It was 75 quid for the conversion kit, and that didn't even include a transmitter. So I worked out for a half decent transmitter, added on to that, you're going to be about 130, 140, maybe even 150 quid. And I thought, oh, is it worth it, you know? So I went onto eBay and had a wee look around, and I managed to get the price down to about 75 quid. That's 75 GB pounds, by the way, including, I think it was a FlySky 4-channel transmitter. Even that was a lot of pocket money, you know, and I've got a lot of hobbies to spread my pocket money about. And then I came across this little model, the WLTOYS F949 3-channel. It's a model of a Cessna 182, 3-channel, radio controlled, ready to fly out the box. All you have to buy is the batteries for the transmitter, and it was only 30 quid. 30 quid, that's 30 GB pounds, by the way. That was definitely affordable. So I thought, I'm going to get that, and what I'm going to do is, when I get it, I'll take all those tiny little bits out of it, I'll rob it and put the bits in the Spitfire. That was the big plan. So I ordered it, and then it arrived, And then I started making some little discoveries the more I looked into it. And that's what basically this video is about, my discoveries. So first things first, I'll take the wing off. I've already undone that screw. The way the wing is secured is quite simple. There's a little tab there, it just slots in there, and then you screw that screw down. Now the first discovery I made was when I took the wings off. If I put that over there, was this. Look at that. This stuff, this foam is very strong, but it's also very, very flexible. And I soon found out by trolling through YouTube videos that this was actually an issue that some people had addressed, and the way they addressed it was put on struts. And as you see there, I've made a couple of modifications. Got struts and I've got little fairings there, but that's not what this video is about. I'll address those little mods in another video. What this video is about is a discovery I made. Now I've already mentioned it was a 3-channel radio controlled model, and I'm just looking for something to point with. So when I took the wing off, you'll notice inside there's a little receiver. I'll get that out of the way. There's a little receiver there, and there's 2 servos mounted on the receiver, and then there's a plug there, a plug in a socket, and that plug is for the ESC, which controls the speed controller for the motor. But there was, now I've got something plugged in there, but there was another socket just here, that socket there, which was empty, it was vacant. And I thought, oh, what on earth's that for? It must be for something, but I couldn't figure out what it was for. Right? So, having done that, I thought, well, I'll plug it in and see what happens. So if I put that up there, let's have, here's the transmitter. Now, right, there's no battery connected. I've already made my fingers bleed by connecting the battery and turning on the transmitter, which is not really a good idea in this situation, because I made my fingers bleed off the propeller. So this is the wee transmitter. It is smaller than your usual. It's quite a small, tidy little transmitter. Now if I switch it on, beep. Now had the battery been connected, that last beep would have indicated that it had bound to the receiver. But I'll let you see this. I hope you can see this. Now, as I say, it's marketed as a 3-channel outfit, and it's mode 2, which means that you should have your ailerons and your elevator on the right hand stick, and your throttle and rudder on your left hand. And sure enough, that is apparently what you've got. So what I'm seeing here is all the attributes of a 4-channel radio, which is a bit odd because it's meant to be a 3-channel. And also you've got the little trim buttons, the long note indicates that it's in the neutral position. So you've got your mode 2 controls, you've got your trim buttons, and there's 2 buttons on the top. You've got this one here and this one here. Now I've never figured out what this one does. It doesn't, I thought maybe it would change mode, but no, it's not that. I don't know what it's for. It bleeps, but it doesn't seem to do anything else. This one, however, if I can just point out on the display, there's a little L. If I press it, it switches to H, so that's low, high. And what that does is it changes the amount of movement on the servo. If it's on low, you get a low movement on the servo, and if you switch it to high, you get a high movement on the servo. Well, that's great for a beginner, because I would certainly start it on low, and once I got more confident, you switch it on high, maybe do some aerobatics or whatever. But anyway, having said that, the transmitter appears to be a 4-channel transmitter, according to what I see on the display. Well, what about the receiver in there? So what I did was I got myself a little mini servo and a wee adapter to change the type of cable from that type of plug to that type of plug. I don't know what they're called, but I got an adapter, plugged it in, and let's see what happens when I plug a battery in. Now, this is the battery that comes with it. It's a 3.7 volt 500 milliamp battery, and according to the reviews I've seen on YouTube, this will keep this in the air for about 25 minutes, unless you're really hot dogging about, maybe a wee bit less, but 25 minutes, that's quite good. As it happens, I also happen to have some 750 milliamp batteries, which are, as you see, they're a bit bigger, and I was worried that they wouldn't fit, but in fact, there's the aperture for the batteries. It does go in. It looks too big, but it does go in there. I tried it earlier on. So there we are. Now, let's switch on. Now that should be at bound. So let's try. Yep, there we go. There's the elevators. Now I'll switch it on to high. There, now you should get max movement on the elevators. Now, moving the right hand stick from side to side should be the elevators, but on this model it's the rudder. And on the left stick it's the motor, and what does the other one do? This is the servo that I plugged into that empty plug, and if I operate this, which on the display shows it's a rudder, it moves the servo. So in fact the whole deal is not a 3-channel, it's a 4-channel radio with a 4-channel receiver, and all they've done is, if I can show you, this servo here, which should be the aileron servo, they've actually connected it to the rudder, so it's moving the rudder, and that's all they've done. Yeah, that's definitely a bonus. So for 30 quids I've got basically a 3-channel aircraft, because it doesn't have any aileron controls, but all the rest of it is 4-channel. Got a 4-channel radio, got a 4-channel receiver, with a couple of built-in servos and a built-in ESC, and all you have to do to get the 4th channel is plug in a wee servo. Now, how's about that? Now, what surprised me is all the reviews that I've read and that I've watched on YouTube. Nobody has actually mentioned that at all. In fact, one reviewer, when he was explaining how the controls work, said that, oh, this one's for the motor, and this one doesn't do anything at all. He says, well, if he bothered to plug a servo into that spare plug there, as I've done, he would have discovered that in fact it's a 4-channel setup. So how good is that? That is pretty good. The only thing is, of course, is that I won't be using 4 channels on my little Spitfire. I'll only be using the 3 channels, so I'll be using it as is there, with the aileron servo connected to the rudder and the other servo connected to the elevators with no aileron control. So how good is that? So what that means now is that I can stick with my original plan and rob these parts and put them in my Spitfire, or even better still, I went back on eBay and discovered that you can buy all these spare parts quite cheap. For example, that little receiver in there with the 2 servos and the built-in ESC, you can buy for, I think it's 11 quid, that's 11 pounds, 11 GB pounds upwards, 11, 12, 13, 14, depends where you buy it and who you buy it from. But it starts at about 11 pounds for that. And the motor, which by the way isn't one motor, there's 3 little motors in there, connected with a little gearbox sort of affair. So there's 3 motors in there, and the motor pack is from about £7 upwards. So for less than £20 I could buy another receiver with the built-in servos and the built-in ESC and a motor pack and put them in my Spitfire and have the choice of whether to fly my Spitfire or this model, all for an extra 20 quid. And so what I think I'll do is I'm going to keep this as it is, and I'm going to fly it, use it as a trainer, because I'm quite a novice at flying these things, so it'll be good practice. And I don't particularly want to crash my Spitfire, because I can just imagine it hitting the ground and just turning into matchwood, basically. They're quite fragile things. So that's it. I hope that information will be useful to some people. The only thing I wish it did have, which it doesn't, and it doesn't seem to have a button for retracts. By stretching the imagination, it would be pretty good if that's what this spare button was for, but I doubt it. So at some future time, if I want to build a model with retracts, I'll probably have to get another transmitter, because although it's a 4 channel, it doesn't have any extra little buttons for retracts or anything like that. And retracts are non-proportional, needs a non-proportional channel, and that extra channel here is proportional. I suppose with a bit of clever bit of engineering, you could get retracts to work on a proportional channel, but it's a bit fiddly. You're better having the right thing. Having said that, if you're short of cash, you can get something like a Fly Sky transmitter for not much money, about 30 quid I think. They're not all that expensive. And the other thing I should mention is that this setup is Fly Sky compatible. So if you have a Fly Sky transmitter, it will bind with this receiver, because they are compatible. So that's it. That's my little discovery. Apart from the the wavy wings, a big discovery is that it's actually 4 channel, and a 4 channel radio control model for £30 is quite outstanding. I've not flown it yet. I've just made a few mods on it. The weather's terrible outside, so I haven't had a chance to fly it, but I know it does fly. I've seen plenty of videos on YouTube, so I hope that's been useful to you. At some point in the future, I'll make a little video about some of the mods that I've made on this, why I've made them, and if they're any good once I get round to flying it. So thanks very much for watching, and see you next time. Bye now.